Since the release of Nightreign back in May, I have played this game endlessly, and now have a proud 963 hours of playtime at the time of recording this video. I play solo, with my friends, and with randoms, and have pretty much experienced every combination and variation of Night Lord, map seeds, and weapon drops. I have found immense enjoyment of the gameplay loop, and I am now very much looking forward to the DLC release. With the release of this DLC sometime in Q4, I believe it will bring back a lot of people who played this game on release and have since taken a break, as well as some new players. And I'm always happy to see this community grow. So today, I thought I would sit down and share with you guys my DLC wishlist. These are very specific things I really want to see in the DLC, and I believe would make for great additions to an otherwise already phenomenal game. I hesitate to call this list predictions, mostly because I don't want to presume that the things I enjoy about this game will perfectly align with FromSoft's direction and interests, but I certainly hope so. I also want you guys to share with me what you want to see in the DLC as well, as it tells me so much about what particular aspect you love about the game. We can all say a prayer and hope that what we love about the game will be further amplified in the DLC. Without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. New maps. I think this is one of the most mentioned new content that people have been talking about, and even if we just get one additional map, this game will instantly feel refreshed. Limveld has been a great design since launch, and so far the terrain has been very familiar to me and comforting. But I do think knowing the ins and outs of every corner of the map does get old eventually, as I find myself turning my brain off when I traverse between points of interest more often than not. I would be interested to see how Liurnia can be adjusted to Nightreign the way Limveld is a mirror to Limgrave. The way the east and the west side of Liurnia are elevated and the middle being a swamp can be very interesting to traverse through. The Moonlight Altar can also be adjusted as a second layer to this map. Just having a new terrain to get to know and get used to will bring veteran players a new challenge and new players even more content to chew through. On top of the base, normal map, if you will, I wish for there to be new Shifting Earth events, and my idea would be Crumbling Faerûn Azula. I have always loved this area in base Elden Ring for its unique aesthetic, intricate level design, and fluid enemy placement and traversal, and I think mirroring that uniqueness in Nightreign would bring excitement to these Shifting Earth events. In my vision, similar to how you find Mausoleum Knights in Nock, Kindred of Rot in the Rotted Woods, Trolls in the mountaintops, and Fire Monks in the Crater, in this version of Faerûn Azula, you would find beastmen and skeletons. Instead of descending into the crater, you would ascend onto a platform that leads you to this Shifting Earth. I can imagine fighting Gorank at the end, similar how you find Estelle in Nock, but not sure what the favor of this Shifting Earth would be though. What do you guys think? Another idea I have for Shifting Earth would be a version of the Halleck tree, filled with Cleanrot Knights and little bubblers. You would climb the branches up to an area similar to Alphael, and the area would be a boss gauntlet. This was something I really loved about the Rotted Woods, as you can basically spend a good portion of day 2 just fighting one boss after another without having to waste much time traversing. I would love for them to bring this back in the form of another Shifting Earth, and I can see a stat buff for the perk of this area. Say a 10% attack power buff similar to what you can get from Everjails and Night Invaders. But honestly, just being able to fight bosses is enough of an appeal for me. Speaking of bosses, I would love to see more variety of world bosses as well as raid bosses. Having a Morgott invasion is simultaneously stress-inducing and exciting. I find that oftentimes if you and your random teammates survive the invasion, the team spirit is so high and the bond is so strong that you work so well for the rest of the run. I would like to see more of these invasions, and the Pursuer from Dark Souls 2 would be a perfect addition. Speeding up his moveset and adding a few new AoEs would make the Pursuer another formidable raid boss. I used to think that some of these surprise occurrences, like the auger bubble or the sentient pest, are annoying detours from your normal expeditions, but after so many hours of Nightreign, I find these events to be fun and surprising. They break the flow of the somewhat routine experience of the game and inject some freshness into your runs. As for world bosses, even though it is unlikely that we'll get a whole new roster of Elden Ring DLC bosses, I still think it's worth mentioning the few that I love and would love to see in Nightreign. Jory, Elden Inquisitor. This was one of the most memorable DLC bosses for me, and not only are his spells visually beautiful, I also think his summons make this a unique boss to fight, especially for multiplayer. Putrescent Knight. God knows how many times I died to him in the DLC. I struggle with him so hard for some reason, but I think his moveset is refreshing, integrating jumping as part of the defensive actions. He's a very unique looking boss, which would make for a fantastic addition to freshen up the boss roster in Nightreign. Number 4. New characters. I think it is very obvious that we'll be getting new Nightfarers for this DLC, but if it will go my way, I would love to see a perfumer that also integrates a whip moveset. Just utilizing perfume bottles may limit the weapon pool for this character, so being able to use whips as well kind of round out some aspects for this perfumer build. As it stands, we would need a more unique whip power stance, as right now there is nothing about whips that make them a better selection than any other weapons. If this character can get a faster and unique moveset for whips, it might actually make really cool whips like the Hoslow's Petal Whip viable. For character skill, I can imagine limited time status application like Rot or Poison, and an ult that would be an AoE like Rolling Sparks. In terms of team composition, this character will most likely serve a support DPS role similar to that of Iron Eye. Another very obvious addition will be new Night Lords. In my opinion, I favor humanoid enemies, such as Hulster and Fulgor. Their attacks make sense and feel good to respond to, so it would be amazing to see more of these demi-human Night Lords. I can imagine status applying bosses that are similar to Melania and Wormface, though I guess the latter is a bad example. But I think the addition of these statuses will make for an interesting fight. Caligo and Hulster are examples of this, though the AoE Frost of Caligo feels more annoying than challenging at times. I suppose you can say it's my skill issue, but I'm very curious to see what they end up releasing, and honestly, no matter what it is, I think I would be very happy with new Night Lords. At the end here, I would also like to add some quality of life features that I think would make the multiplayer experience as a whole smoother and more enjoyable. Now, I understand why FromSoft might not have and probably never will add voice chat, but I do think there are still many things they could do to make the online play a lot smoother and help reduce player frustration that stem from not being able to communicate with teammates via voice chat. If you are a relatively new player or wonder what might have been some unspoken rules of playing Nightreign, you can check out my previous video. One of the biggest complaints I have seen across a lot of platforms is the issue of weapon hoarding, whether intentional or unintentional. Obviously, there will always be players who do this on purpose for selfish reasons, and you can't really do much about that. However, there is also a portion of new players who simply don't know what may or may not be good for their teammates. I think it would be nice to have a feature where you can request an item from your teammate's inventory. It makes it super clear that they want something from you and that you can trade weapons that way. Funny enough, I can also see this feature drawing out some serious beef amongst players. Imagine if you really want a weapon from your teammate and they just outright refuse to give it to you, whether it's because they just don't want to or they might want to keep the weapon for their own reasons. I thought of this, but there isn't really much you can do about people who just won't cooperate or compromise, but I do think it helps mitigate cases where new players might just not know. Time is of the essence in this game, and I can't even remember the amount of times I have forgotten I have an Evergaol key until the night boss, or when I thought I saw a teammate pick up a key, ping an Evergaol only for all of us standing around with no key. A very easy solution would be to add a section of the menu where you get to see your teammates' tool belts. You get to see if the casters have FP shards, who has a Wending Grace, as well as Stonesword keys. I see almost no downsides to this, and it would be a very small update to a quality of life feature that can smooth out the experience a lot. The last one might be a little niche, but I really wish we can name our relic presets. The amount of times I've had an existential crisis at the character selection page, scrolling through all of my relic setups, hoping that I choose the right one, all while the time is ticking, is just too much pressure for me to bear. I play Duchess and Recluse a lot, and I like to build my relics by elements, so simply being able to name them fire or lightning would already make my life a lot easier. The feeling of regret I get from accidentally picking the wrong relic setup while panicking at the selection screen is terrible, and this would 100% make it better. Alright, I'm pretty much done with my wish list. I say a prayer every day, hoping that we get our long-awaited DLC drop, but until then, I will keep on dreaming that my wishes come true. What are the things you guys want to see in the DLC? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, bye.